Welcome to Mojo at the Movies. Today we're doing an Oscar special. In fact, it's the Oscar nomination special because the Oscar nominations came out early this morning. So early, in fact, at 5:22 a.m. on the West Coast. So really the crack of dawn. And I'm sure there was a lot of eager people in Hollywood waiting to see if they got nominated. And we here at WatchMojo, we were eagerly awaiting this as well because we want to break it down for you. So today I've assembled a panel and we have two of our Mojo movie buffs. I've got Phoebe and Matt with me. How you guys doing?
Good, yeah.
Very happy to have you here.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
So we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. Any thoughts right off the bat as far as first reactions to the nominations? Matt?
Well, for me, first reactions is we didn't get too many surprises in terms of what was actually nominated. The Oscar nominations pretty much followed what all the precursors did. So not a big surprise there, but I will say that even though we did kind of have an idea of what would be nominated, a lot of the races are still going to be really tough. So there are certain favorites right now, but they can totally change as time goes on, you know, even a week before the show starts. So it'll be an interesting race and it should be a great show.
Bit of a tighter race than in past years, eh?
Yeah, I agree. I think that everything is really sort of on the same wavelength. Everything was really, really great this year. For surprises, I think that I was pleasantly surprised that Get Out was nominated for so many categories.
Yes. Yeah.
Since there was a big snub at the Golden Globes, especially for Jordan Peele being nominated for Best Director. And I'm very, very happy that they did get the accolades that they deserve this year.
And Get Out was #1 on our WatchMojo top movies of the year, so that's pretty cool.
We know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. Yeah.
But you know what? That's interesting because that leads me to talk about some of the snubs because some of the movies on our list either didn't get nominated at all or got nominated in very few categories. Namely, The Disaster Artist, which did pretty well on our list, but and at other award ceremonies, but only got, I think, adapted screenplay this year.
Yep.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, considering the controversy surrounding James Franco, I mean, it kind of does make sense that he didn't make it, but it's also strange if you want to just look at it from like an acting perspective that in all the prior award shows and all the other award ceremonies, he was nominated and also won many of them. So it is interesting that they decided to completely leave him off, but obviously surrounding the whole controversy surrounding everything, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, just to speak a little more to that, I think it's just sort of reflective of the Oscars being more reading the room, so to speak, as they did last year as well with the Oscars So White controversy. I think that they're sort of moving forward with the times, as everybody is. And I think that that's the reason why he deserved that snub. And even if he was nominated for lead actor, I don't know if this is a hot take, I don't think that he would have won. Beside the likes of Timothée Chalamet, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Daniel Kaluuya. I don't know. I just
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman,
Gary
yes,
Oldman.
Of course, Gary Oldman.
Probably a lock.
Yeah, I completely agree. Some people did expect him to, but I think Gary Oldman's got it in the bag. But we'll dive deeper into that. So I agree. I'm not sure he would have won, but interesting to see that he wasn't nominated. Yeah.
Now, a couple of other movies that were on our list that didn't really do so well in these nominations. Baby Driver got 2 nominations, I think, and that's mostly in editing. Star Wars got a couple of technical nominations, and Blade Runner 2049, which was a favorite of many of our fans. It got for Best Cinematography, and that's Roger Deakins. So I really hope he wins this year.
I think it's, just to quickly touch on that, I think it's finally his year. I mean, the competition is strong, but he hasn't won yet, and Blade Runner 2049, arguably the most visually spectacular movie of the year. So I think Roger's got it this year, but we'll see.
All right, well, we're going to get into some of the acting categories. Let's get to it. All right, so first category we're really going to delve into here is supporting actress. And the nominees are Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer for Shape of Water. Let's go to you, Phoebe. What are you thinking?
I think it's a pretty clear winner in this category. It's definitely Allison Janney for I, Tonya.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She won the Golden Globe. I think that she was fantastic in the film. She really embodied this sort of villain character, and she had a complete physical transformation as well, which I think that Oscars really like that. Yeah, they really, really like that. So I personally really enjoyed Octavia Spencer's performance in The Shape of Water.
But was it Oscar worthy?
I don't think so, but it was personally my favorite out of any of these. But I think that it's definitely Allison Janney's going to win.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, Leslie Manville was there was some fun underlying underlying everything in Phantom Thread. That,
Totally, yeah.
And especially, you know, you mentioned when we were talking before that dynamic between the two characters.
Yeah.
So Leslie Manville was pretty good, but
she was great. I'd also really love to see Laurie Metcalf get like a fair shake at it.
That's probably the only person who really could give her a run for her money.
I think so. But you know, like Phoebe said, I really do think Allison Janney just has it in the bag.
Yeah.
She's born to play that role.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like you said, she won the Golden Globe. She won the SAG award too. So.
And how hard is it to play someone who's still alive? Like when you're playing a real person, or, you know, a historical figure, it's one thing, but when you're playing someone who's still alive, that's a huge challenge. Actors talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of pressure. You know, you have a lot of people to impress. You have that person to impress.
Yeah.
So she was great, hilarious, and you know, I think it's a lock pretty much.
Yeah, I agree.
Supporting actor, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins for Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell, again, for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah.
So, who wants to take this one?
Again, I think it's just as much of a lock, this category. I think Sam Rockwell, he's won everything prior to this.
And he never really won much before, eh?
No, that's the thing. Yeah. He's a very underrated actor. He's
I love Sam
amazing,
Rockwell.
yeah. And the relationship he has with the director of this film, you know, they've worked together a lot. So, 3 Billboards is probably like you. It's probably my maybe not favorite, but second favorite. And a lot of it has to do with just like how amazing Sam Rockwell is in this. So. I think he's going to win. It's interesting to see Christopher Plummer nominated for All the Money in the World. I kind of think that's just a nomination to kind of be like, oh, you know, we understand.
Thanks for stepping in.
That's, yeah, and like maybe a bit on a deeper level. It's just like, we appreciate what you did, Ridley Scott, in changing this, and Christopher Plummer is also very good. So let's give you a little nomination here for this little move. But you know, Christopher Plummer's a legend, so it's not like it's not merited. So.
And Richard Jenkins, you know, we were talking about this. He was really good in Shape of Water. I always love Richard Jenkins. To me, he's always the dad in 6 Feet Under.
And the dad in Step Brothers.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Which is definitely not an Oscar nominee, but I mean.
But again, like Octavia, was it Oscar worthy in The Shape of Water?
I agree with you. I think that Richard Jenkins was amazing in this film. I really, really loved his performance. I loved their little dance sequences. It was just one of my favorite films of the year. But I agree that it wasn't necessarily a standout performance, an Oscar-worthy performance. And I definitely agree with you that I think that Sam Rockwell has it in the bag. Mm-hmm. It's a sure thing, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad, as I said, that he's finally being recognized, because
Moon, he's great.
His performance in Moon is just so amazing.
Yeah, that's a great film.
All the power to him. So go Sam. All right, next up, a big category, lead actor, Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name. It's actually Timothée Chalamet. Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread. Daniel Kaluuya, or as they announced today, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out. Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire. What are we thinking?
I think that this is also a pretty clear winner. Gary Oldman has been cleaning up.
It's a lock.
Yeah, it's pretty much a lock. I mean, but I don't think that it's so obvious in this category as it was, let's say, in the supporting actor category, where there was one standout performance. I think that everybody nominated for lead actor is really, really strong. I think that everybody is sort of shipping Timothée Chalamet to win, even though he's a very, very young and less experienced actor than Gary Oldman. But I think it's not as clear in this one. You also have Daniel Day-Lewis, who's like a seasoned vet. You have Daniel Kaluuya, who just did an incredible performance.
And kind of out of nowhere, right?
That's it, exactly. I mean, he was in an episode of Black Mirror, which I watched recently, and he was fantastic in that. He just has all of the chops to be the leading man. And I don't think it's that clear in this one.
It's so strange to me the first time I heard him speak in real life and heard the British accent.
That's
I was
true.
Like, really? I didn't. He just seems so naturally American in Get Out. Interesting that Timothée Chalamet was in 3 movies, 3 big movies this year.
Yep.
2 that were Oscar nominated. So he was in Lady Bird, he was in Call Me By Your Name, but he was also in Hostiles. So he's obviously making a big splash this year.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I think Timothy, however you pronounce it, sorry if I get that wrong. But I think he's probably Gary Oldman's biggest competition. And it's interesting because The Academy, especially in like the lead actress category, has like leaned towards awarding the younger actresses. So you got like Emma Stone winning last year. They love Jennifer Lawrence. It's interesting that they don't necessarily award the young actors so much. It's always kind of like the veteran.
Yeah.
True.
So in that scenario, I think that's why Gary Oldman has the edge. But the momentum could switch. Maybe something happens where Chalamet kind of gets an edge closer to the award show. But I think Gary Oldman has it in the bag, which is also very strange to say when Daniel Day-Lewis is in the category
That's true,
too.
yeah.
Would he be the first to get 4? If Daniel Day-Lewis wins, he would be the first actor to get 4 Best Actor.
And what a fitting retirement that would be too,
That's
right?
right,
Yeah.
because he announced that this is his last movie.
Yeah.
Is that true? I'm not so sure.
We'll see. Yeah.
I hope. In some ways, I hope Daniel Kaluuya gets it, but it's most probably going to be Gary Oldman. As we said, Hollywood really likes. They love transformations.
Yeah.
I think it might have been different, though. Let's say. Well, maybe this is for the Best Picture discussion, but the fact that it's a British historical figure and not an American historical figure might make when he played Lincoln, that was. It was him who played. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When he played Lincoln, it was like, of course he's going to win, and that's going to clean up the Oscars. I'm not so sure that a movie about Churchill will do as well at the Oscars, but I still think chances are it's going to Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
All right, next up, lead actress. We have Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep for The Post. Meryl Streep again?
Again.
Anytime she acts in something, it's pretty much guaranteed she'll be nominated.
Right. Denzel,
so she has to
Meryl
get used
Streep,
to it.
Right?
Yeah.
So, Matt, this is your time to shine. What are you thinking here?
I think it's Frances McDormand's time to shine.
Another lock?
Another lock, yeah. I mean, when it comes to 3 Billboards, the acting is phenomenal, so I don't think we should be surprised if they clean up in all those acting awards. Frances McDormand's going to win. She's amazing in that movie. I would love to see Saoirse Ronan kind of fight for that statue.
Lady Bird, eh?
Lady Bird was my favorite movie of the year, and I honestly think, it's tough because I think both of those performances, Saoirse Ronan and Frances McDormand, were easily the best of the year. So it pains me to say Saoirse's not going to win, but she's not going to win. She's young. She still has a lot of opportunities to do so, but it's a lock for Frances. It's a lock for 3 Billboards in all the acting categories, I think.
I think you're right. But we've been talking about the whole idea of Hollywood loving transformations, and Margot Robbie. It's a pretty for someone that we didn't expect to pull out such a performance. Her version of Tonya Harding is pretty spectacular. Any thoughts on that?
I don't think that it would be shocking to see either Margot Robbie or Saoirse Ronan win, because Hollywood and the Oscars in particular have a trend to sort of favor the younger up-and-coming actresses, as you were speaking to for the younger actors. So, for example, we had Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings Playbook. We had Emma Stone for La La Land. We had Brie Larson for The Room, up against very, very seasoned actresses. And I think that it wouldn't be surprising to see Margot Robbie or Saoirse Ronan to just steal it from Frances McDormand.
But you have a certain actress that you really hope.
I do, yeah, of course. I mean, The Shape of Water was definitely my favorite film of the year, and I think that Sally Hawkins' performance, especially considering she doesn't speak in the role, she is really just hit the perfect balance of, being someone who was mute and not overacting, which I thought was amazing and commendable. And I think that she should win, but I don't think that she will.
Well, it is, I mean, to be able to communicate all of that without speaking is pretty amazing.
Exactly.
But I have to say Frances McDormand was, it was one of those performances that takes your breath away. She was so badass in that movie. And she was so
heartbreaking too,
and
right?
human,
like,
right.
Yeah, that's it.
So I think we're going to give it to Frances McDormand. What's interesting is that all of our we haven't disagreed on anything so far. So far it feels like there's a lot of locks.
I think the acting. I mentioned earlier that a lot of these were like it's kind of up in the air. The acting ones, not so much. The further we get into these nominations, I think we'll have different picks and stuff. But for the acting, it's pretty stuck. I think, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to the next ones. Okay. Best Director, this is a tough one. Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. This is a tough category.
There's a bunch of great nominations, or nominees, I should say, on this list for sure.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Do you want to take the lead on this one?
I mean,
yeah?
I definitely don't think that Christopher Nolan will win. I think that his time is sort of not dwindling, but I feel like the Oscars this year in particular have a better mix of sort of more artistic films as opposed to biographical films or historical films. And I think that it seems that the Academy is sort of favoring that sort of genre. I don't think that there's a clear winner here. I would have to say that it would be amazing if Greta Gerwig won. I think she's only the 5th woman who's ever been nominated for Best Director.
Insane.
It is
Crazy.
insane,
Yeah.
but she deserves it. She made a beautiful film, but I definitely think that it's going to go to Guillermo del Toro.
You do?
I do.
Has he won?
He did win the Golden Globe for Best Director.
But has he won a Best Directing Oscar?
I'm not sure.
It would have to be for Pan's Labyrinth, but
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. Well, let us know in the comments. I'm not sure either. What's interesting about Shape of Water is that, when I saw it, I loved it. But, that is the movie. Well, maybe this is more of a conversation for Best Picture. We'll keep it to director now. I was going to say that is a movie that, it was more of a small, intimate film for me rather than like,
Right.
what we've come to expect from Del Toro. I love the idea that Jordan Peele is nominated for Get Out because, a lot of people are aware of this, but not everyone knows that he comes from sketch comedy.
Yeah.
He is Jordan Peele of Key and Peele, the sketch comedy show, which I always thought was so interesting about that show was the production value of the sketches that they would do. Like he understands, the filmic language. He understands
Completely.
cinema.
Yeah.
I would love for him to win. Greta Gerwig as well. I think, considering this was her directorial debut,
Yeah.
she's been in so many great movies, but to see her actually take something like Lady Bird and bring it to such heights, pretty great. And then Paul Thomas Anderson, one of the
Yeah.
great directors out there.
Yeah. It was a great movie. It was very funny in like a very subtle kind of way. I don't know if he really has a chance in this category though. I agree. It's weird. We said, I said, oh, we're gonna start disagreeing here, but I think Guillermo's gonna take this home. 13 total nominations. I also don't think Shape of Water is gonna win Best Picture, which is why
They
I
often
think
do that, right?
They'll give
Yeah.
him director. But I do think Greta Gerwig has a good shot at challenging him.
Definitely.
Jordan Peele, as happy and as stoked as I am to see him get the nod, horror movies tend not to do super well. I mean, it's a huge achievement that it's been nominated in the first place, but I don't see it. I don't see him really winning. Greta Gerwig directed one of the best movies of the year. It was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for the longest time, and you don't get a movie that good without great direction, right? So, I do think it's between her and Guillermo. We'll see, but it's going to be close, I think.
I think either way we'll be happy, right? Like if I see
Oh,
either of those on
completely.
stage accepting that award, I'll just
Yeah.
feel for some reason that, all is right in the world.
Yeah.
All right, and now the big one. The big kahuna, drum roll please, Best Picture. That didn't work very well at all. Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, this is a fantastic list. Often I felt that the Oscars, there's maybe 2 or 3 that are good, but the rest not so great, or the rest is kind of Oscar bait type stuff. Speaking of Oscar bait, we do have a list coming out today of, what is it, the top 10
Failed Oscar bait movies.
failed Oscar bait
Yeah.
movies, so check that out.
Great plug. That's a great plug. Great.
We call that circular flow. I'll go on record and say 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri was my favorite movie of the year. The moment I saw it, I said, okay, this is, not only of the year, this is my favorite movie of the last couple of years. It hit every point that I needed to hit. What was supposed to be sad came out as funny. What was supposed to be funny came out as sad. It was so human. It was so filled with conflicting emotions. So I absolutely loved that movie. We should say, so that's up for 7 awards. Dunkirk is up for 8. And Shape of Water up for 13.
Yeah.
So I don't know, over to you guys.
Like I said, I don't think Shape of Water is going to win Best Picture. I think Guillermo is going to win Director, and I think the Academy is going to say, you know, that's enough. But, you know, I think 3 Billboards is probably going to win Best Picture. It won the SAG Award for Best Ensemble Cast, and that's a huge precursor as to who's going to win Best Picture at the Oscars. So I think right there is like a huge hint that we shouldn't overlook. And like you said, all those, and the social commentary as well to 3 Billboards is super spot on too, and relevant for today. So I think that's going to win. Get Out would be a very nice surprise. I know that's the one you're kind of pulling for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Get Out is a shocker to be nominated for this category because critics tend to have sort of that short-term memory. This came out all the way back at the beginning of 2017.
And it's a horror movie or a thriller or a comedy.
I mean, I don't know if I would classify it as like just strictly a horror movie. I think that this is a film that's very interesting because it sort of transcends those genres. It dances on the line between comedy, horror, drama, thriller.
Or as Jordan Peele says, documentary.
Exactly, yeah. So I think that it would be an interesting, I think it's a long shot, just to go on record, I think it's a long shot that it would win, but I think it's great that it was nominated because it is such a fantastic film and I feel like people just sort of forgot about it. And I'm really happy that it's nominated. In terms of a clear winner, there isn't one. All of these films are fantastic. I can't even say which one I think is going to win.
But it also feels like there's a change in Hollywood, whereas there's a lot of indie movies here.
Yes.
There's a lot of smaller movies. Like, you know, it's Dunkirk and The Post to me are the 2 that really resemble the Hollywood and the Oscars that we've known in the past. And, you know, Call Me By Your Name, that could win. Get Out could win. Imagine if Lady Bird won, and it's, you know, it's such a small, sweet film. I think what a lot of these movies have in common is a humanity, and you feel that in Lady Bird. You feel that in The Shape of Water. You feel that in Call Me By Your Name and 3 Billboards, and so.
And you get less of that in the Hollywood block. You get less of that in the Hollywood blockbuster, is what I meant to say, because you know they just don't want to take so many risks like that. You know, they're content on putting things on screen that people are familiar with and that are going to make money. And the great thing about these indie films is, you know, they say, oh, F that. We're just going to create a great story, original stories, and stories that resonate with people, and you know, social commentary as well. And all of these indie movies kind of do that in some sense. So. And the Academy notices that, and that's why they're being rewarded with these nominations, right?
And I think that it's not only just like what stories are being told, but whose stories are being told. So in the past, it's been, you know, I think that the Oscars is sort of, as we've seen last year with the Oscars So White controversy, you know, the stories that were being told were white male narratives. Now, it's become more popular to tell the stories of the marginalized. So we have Get Out, a story about a strong black character. We have Lady Bird, a story about a woman directed by a woman. So, you know, we have all of these different sorts of films to choose from, and I think that that's what's really interesting about this category and these nominations.
Not a big surprise considering that this is the year that America has lived under Trump as well. So, you know, is this a reaction to Trump's America? You know, that's a discussion for another time.
It's a big question, but I mean, it's a question that should be asked for sure.
Absolutely. So let us know what you think in the comments. That's it for us. The Oscars March 4th, I believe. Is it 3rd or 4th?
Yes.
Yes. So check it out, and we'll be back to talk to you guys about more stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, and thanks a lot.